For today's video, we're going to be working in Photopea, creating a double exposure similar to that you can make in Photoshop or any other photo editing program. So a double exposure is where you have an overall picture with a ghost image inside of it. And so you see both pictures together, so you're seeing through one and to see the picture in the background. So today, we're going to be working on creating a double exposure of these kangaroos and then double exposing them to their environment, a picture of the Australian outback. So our first thing here is we're going to be pen tooling the kangaroos so that they are being exposed in the overall picture of our design. So what we'll need to do is pen tool the kangaroos first. So again, if it's filling in on your design, I'm going to go to the fill up here and give it the red X so there's no fill color, so it does not cover up your design as you're working on it. So you want to get as close as you can to your creation. So the overall double exposure will look pretty close to your image. So you don't want to have a lot of your background showing. Try to get as close as you can to your actual animal or whatever your subject matter is going to be. So we have our first kangaroo outlined. Again, same process. We're going to go to paths, get down to the marquee option down here at the bottom, click on the selection. So now you have the marching ants around your kangaroo or whatever animal you're working with. Back to layers, back to background copy. And we're going to copy and paste it. So edit, copy, edit, paste. So we have our first one. So we still have a opening. We gotta go in here and pen tool this little opening away. So we're gonna go pen tool. Path like pets, our key tool, so it has marching ants. Back to layers. Now this layer, we're going to go to the layer 1, and we're going to delete that. So it's not on our kangaroo picture. So we also have one at his feet here too, so we'll work on that next. This little spot here. Paths, marquee, there's the marching ants, back to the layers, back to layer 1, and hit delete. There we go, it's gone. Zoom out. So we have our first kangaroo cut from our design. I'm just going to label these just in case I need to come back to these, so I know that they are part of our kangaroo 1 layer. So we're going to do the same thing, but to kangaroo number 2. So again, you want to get as close as you can. So part of his feet are covered up with the grass, so that's fine. I'll just try to get as close as I can to the fur. So number 2 kangaroo's cut out. We're going to go to path, marquee, or make selection. Now you can see the marching ants. Back to layers, back to our kangaroo background. Edit, copy, edit, paste. We have our second one. But we need to go back and again do the same thing as before. We're going to go cut out the inner parts. So pen tool. Paths. Make selection. Good. Now to layer 1, so we can hit delete on the keyboard, or you can go to edit, clear. Do the same thing. So you see parts cut out now. See if there's one more. That's it. Good. So this would be K2 layer. So again, if you want to rename your layers, you just double click on them, and so you have that option to rename whatever layer you're working on. So now we're going to look at our third one here. Pen tool. We have our second one. And again, if you need to readjust any of your pen tool marks, you can use the white arrow tool down here at the bottom. You just the path selection tool. You just click on the anchor point you want to adjust, or the handles, and you can readjust or realign any of those pieces that you might need or change. Path, make selection. We have the marching ants. Back to our layers. Back to our background copy. Edit. Copy. Edit. Paste. So we have our K3 there. We have to go back and make a couple cutouts. One here in the legs and his two hands. So again, you hit delete on the keyboard. Make sure you're on the right layer. There we go. Okay. The selection. Back to layers. Be on the right layer. There we go. And our last one. Layers. So our overall design will look like this. Next thing we want to do is we're going to bring in our background to see what it looks like over the top. So you're going to File, Place, File, Open, and Place from for Photopea. Make sure it's the whole picture. You want to make sure your background picture is larger than your characters or your animal that you're picking. It has to cover the entire picture. So there was a part of the tail up here, so I just want to make sure it's moved over so I cover the entire thing. So it's covering part of the feet here, but keep in mind where your animals are is where the double exposure will happen. So right now, most of this mountain is not being shown. Only part of his feet here and part of his body. So and part of the sunset as well. So what I'm going to do is move up the background photo so I can get more of the sunset and more of the mountain in the actual kangaroos when they are double exposed. So it's a little bit more interesting. Okay, so I think that's a good way to start. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to apply the same patterns we just did, but to our we're going to apply the same patterns we just did to cut out our kangaroos, but to our actual background. So we'll try with K1 here. It's already cut out. You turn off the actual kangaroo so you can see what it looks like. So we're just going to go in order. This is what is helpful with labeling yours. So we're going to K1. We go to Paths, make selection. We can see our kangaroo. We can see where it's going to be lined up. Part of the sunset's going to be in there. Some of the clouds. Back to layers. Go down to our image here of background. or sunset. So it has a smart object icon on it, so we have to rasterize it. So we're going to layer first. Okay, so we're going to rasterize our layer, because it has a smart object icon down here at the bottom. So layer, rasterize. So what we're going to do is we're going to make 3 of these backgrounds, since I have 3 characters. If you only have 1, then you do not have to worry about this. You're going to only do this. I'll do the same process 3 times on here, but you will only need to do 1. So if you have more than 1, say you have 2 dolphins or maybe a set of fish that you're pen tooling, this will apply to you. If you only are doing it for 1, then you do not have to worry about it. So what we're going to do is make a copy of our sunset. So you can either layer duplicate, or you can drag your layer down to the bent piece of paper. So I have sunset now, sunset copy, and I will have sunset copy 2. So those are our 3, and we'll need each of those for 1 for each of our kangaroos. So we'll make sunset, this will be sunset 1 for kangaroo 1, sunset 2 for kangaroo 2, and sunset 3 for kangaroo 3. So let's go sunset 1 right now. We have it here. We already have our kangaroo 1. It has the marching ants. You can see our design. You can see, if we zoom in, you can see the lines here. So what we're going to do, this is called a layer mask. So you're blocking everything else out that's not in our designated area. So this is our designated area, is the marching ants. So what you're going to do is go to this icon down here. So it's a raster mask right here. You click on that. You'll have a little icon down here. It's black and white drawing. It's sort of similar to when you go to select color range. So what we're telling the computer is that that picture is only visible in that white area, which is currently our kangaroo. So this is what it looks like if you turn the other layers off. What we need to do as well is go back and delete those inner parts inside kangaroo 1's arms and between his legs. So what we're going to do is go to K1. This is the overall kangaroo first. This is like the part in his arm, and then this is the one between his legs. So we have to go back and select those areas. So it's selected. Back to layer. Go to our sunset here, where it's sunset 1. I'm going to hit delete. So that cut that piece out right between his arms. You can see it here. Now it's missing. So same thing with K1. This is the one that's in between his legs. Path. Make selection. Layers. Back to sunset 1. Make sure you're in the right layer. Delete. That part is missing. Good. We can turn that off. We're going to turn on sunset 2. And we're going to go to our kangaroo number 2, which is here. So our kangaroo 2 shape is this one correct? Yep. So kangaroo 2 shape. We're going to go to path, make selection, back to layers, back to sunset 2 now. We're going to make the raster mask. So if we turn off our kangaroo layer, we can start to see some of that mountain, some of the sunset. Good. Now we're going to go to K2. This is the one that's in his arms. Go to path, make selection. We see it has the marching ants right now. It's right in between his arms down here. Layers. Back to our kangaroo 2 sunset. Hit delete. Part is missing now. Good. And now we're going to step on to working on number 3. So our kangaroo 3 is on, so we're going to turn that off. We don't need that. So we have, this would be K3 here. Sorry. Good. Kangaroo 3. This is what is helpful about having your layers labeled. So kangaroo layer 3, we see the pen tool marks. We go to path, make selection. So now we have our marching ants, back to our layers, back to sunset 3. Now we're going to make the raster mask like that. So now it's just the part of the mountain and part of the sunset. Now we go to inner part of his arms, path, make selection, layers, sunset 3, delete. Next piece down, this is the other part of his arms, path, make selection, layers, sunset, delete. Last part in between his legs, path, make selection, layers, so now sunset 3 again, delete. So this is what we should have right now as our potential double exposure sunset. Next thing we're going to do is going to turn back on your animal layer. So we're going to turn on kangaroo 1, kangaroo 2, and kangaroo 3. So the next step you're going to be working on is actually creating the double exposure part. So what you'll do is go to your layer. So for us it's K1 layer. We're going to go to this drop down menu here on top of your layer options. Normally it will typically say normal, so you're going to go here, and the one you're going to be choosing is screen. So it's going to screen the picture that's below it, so it's making it semi-transparent so you can still see parts of the kangaroo while also seeing part of your sunset underneath. So you're going to do that for all of your layers. Screen, screen, and screen. So we have our overall design. So it works really well with darker areas, so you can start to see part of the mountain and the background. If you want to bump up your the contrast, you can go to Image, Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast. Also Levels works very well. In Photopea, it sometimes works or does not work under that. So you can try that, and if you're going to adjust those, make sure you're doing that to your actual animal layers, not to your background. You don't need to change any of those, but to the actual animal, so you could see more of like the actual design of the animal in your picture. So the next thing we're going to do is create a background. So we're going to go to Layer, New Fill Layer, Color with Fill, and you can make it whatever color you want. Probably like a neutral gray or like a darker color, just so you can see what it is. And just make sure that layer is below all of your others. There we go. So now we have our kangaroos double exposing the Australian outback. So then you're going to File, Save as PSD first. So that you can always go back and edit it if you need to. And then File, Export as PNG.